Hi, I'm State Senator Pamela Althoff, and I represent the 32nd District, which encompasses most of McHenry County as well as a very important sliver of Lake County. I've been a historical preservation advocate, well, since I can remember, and I really believe that it's because of Illinois' very rich and diverse history that we are a natural tourist destination, not just for people here in the state of Illinois, but for the country as well as for our international visitors. And tourism is important because it's a huge economic engine for our state. So, as the co-chair of the Historic Preservation Caucus, I made a New Year's resolution that I would visit at least one state historic site every month in 2016. The idea being in 2017 I'd have the opportunity to do the same locally in both Lake and McHenry County. But today we're here at New Salem Village, and we're going to go on a tour with the site manager. Here we are in the Visitor Center, which is also a museum. I have with me Tim Ghanaian. Thank you very much for joining me today, telling me about New Salem. We're going to visit several sites today, but here we're in the museum, and I understand it's extraordinarily important because of Lincoln's surveying equipment.
Correct. This is kind of our crown jewel of our artifacts here at New Salem, and the reason for that is this is the actual surveying equipment that Abraham Lincoln owned when he was here at New Salem. It's very, very important as some of the successes and failures of Abraham Lincoln. And one of them was he wasn't a good businessman. And so a lot of his belongings got auctioned off when he went bankrupt, if you will. And one of the successes is James Short, one of Lincoln's friends, actually bought this surveying equipment and gave it back to Lincoln.
And again, you know, when we're dealing with Illinois with no budget, with small businesses trying to survive, I think it's extraordinarily important to note that even our greatest president struggled with debt. I understand it took him 20 years to finally pay off the last penny that he owed based on those bankruptcies.
That is correct, yep.
Okay, so now I understand we're outside, very cold day today, but we're going to see the village.
We are.
So Tim, we now are in the Cooper Cottage. Tell me a little bit about what went on here and why it was so important to the whole Lincoln history as well as the history of New Salem.
This is a very important building, as this building, about 60% of it was actually here in the 1830s. Abraham Lincoln spent time in this building at night studying different subjects for his law, for his surveying and things like that. And the reason for that is because it is a cooper shop, so there's a lot of woodworking going in here, and you have a lot of wood chips on the ground, and he could have thrown those into the fire and read by the firelight.
Wonderful. So Tim, on the walk over to this schoolhouse, you were explaining to me that while the Cooper building was really historic because 60% of it is original, this building isn't even in the exact location it should have been. So tell me a little bit about the schoolhouse and why it was, again, important to Lincoln.
The schoolhouse was very important to New Salem. To Lincoln, it was important because of Minter Graham. He was the schoolmaster that was here. Nobody, based on written record and stuff like that, had more of an impact educationally on Lincoln than Minter Graham. When Lincoln needed to go, he'd read his books and things, but when he needed clarification on it, Minter Graham was the person he would go to.
Okay, so Tim, this building is truly, from a historic perspective, very important, not just to Lincoln, but to the entire village, and from a historical perspective on what it actually was responsible for doing and how it was done.
Right. This is the carding mill, and the importance of this carding mill right here is this is one of 3 working animal carding mills in the world, the other 2 being outside North America. So this is a very, very important building. Unique. Animal-powered carding mill, which you'd bring the oxen up. What's also very important about it is this was basically the beginning of the Industrial Revolution at New Salem. You're now having animals working machines that are actually doing manual labor that the women used to have to do. So this was a very big part of the industrialization, even back in the 1830s, of this village here at New Salem.
People 4 years ago could come out and see the actual working carding mill. And because of budgetary constraints, how did that work?
We've been unable to get any more oxen right now because it takes a lot of money to feed oxen. They need care 365 days a year. So it's a very big process. We've had guys retire that used to interpret this building and they no longer can.
And there's a foundation, you were telling me, that now helps raise funds for the operation of New Salem?
Correct. The New Salem Lincoln League, it's been around the old Salem Lincoln League was way before the village was even put here by the state of Illinois or built. So they go way back. Now it's called the New Salem Lincoln League, and they are a support group that generate funds here through the shops and doing other fundraisers and things like that, and they give it directly back to the site. Every dollar that they earn here or that they generate goes directly back to the site. So it's a very big, we could not do any of our programming, our special events. We couldn't even carry on probably daily operations without their generosity and their help.
Once again, volunteerism, yay. So on the way over here, Tim, you were explaining to me, we passed the first Barry Lincoln store. This is actually the second site of the Barry Lincoln partnership in Commerce. So can you tell me more about this site and how it again connects to Lincoln?
Yeah. Lincoln and William Barry were two owners of the store. And so this is the second Barry Lincoln. What's very important about this store as well is this is where Lincoln was the postmaster. So this is where he was able to read a lot of the pamphlets coming through, things like that. Anything that he got, he could read. But as Lincoln put it, all they did here is got deeper and deeper in debt. And the people love to come in here, listen to Lincoln's wit and all that, you know, all of his stories and things like that, but wit does not pay the bills. The other thing is what Lincoln and Barry did. They moved in right next to Sam Hill, who owned the store next door. Sam Hill was a very, very shrewd businessman who had connections down in St. Louis. He could get goods a lot cheaper than Lincoln could. And so he was losing as soon as he got in here.
We always save the best spot for last in our videos. And so tell us how this is important. You told me this was kind of the bad part of town. So explain to me what we have here behind us, the building, and then more importantly, what took place here on this site.
This is the Offutt store, and the reason this is so important is because Abraham Lincoln probably would have not ever come to New Salem if it wasn't for Offutt. Abraham Lincoln was 6'5", 185 pounds. Denton Offutt bragged that Lincoln could beat anybody, could outrace him, just always bragged on him. Well, there's a group of guys over out of New Salem called Jack Armstrong and the Clary Grove Boys. Jack Armstrong, the leader of the gang, had to challenge Abraham Lincoln. So Denton Offutt put a bet on him that Abraham Lincoln could throw him. And so back here is where the wrestling match happened between Jack Armstrong and Abraham Lincoln. And as the story goes, they both were going at it. Lincoln started getting the best of Jack Armstrong, and the Clary Grove Boys wouldn't have any of that, so they jumped in. Abraham Lincoln immediately said, I'll fight all of you one at a time. I'll run you in a foot race, anything, but I'm not going to fight you all at once. So Jack Armstrong gets up, they shake hands, they call it a draw. That was probably the biggest successes of Abraham Lincoln here at New Salem. Right when he gets here, he gets challenged. He goes through and does it the correct way, and he actually gained a lot of respect from everybody in the village and sent him on his way. Started
to establish his character.
Correct.
Great for public office later on.
Exactly.
So thank you very, very much. Really enjoyed the time out here.
Thank you, Senator.
Well, I don't know about you, but I had an absolutely great time this morning hanging out with Tim and seeing all the wonderful sights. But there is so much more to see. You need to make a personal visit whenever it fits into your schedule. Next month, we're going to go and visit Lincoln's tomb. I invite you to tune in then and see all the wonderful historic facts that we have available to us at that particular time. And you can find more information about all the Illinois historic sites on their website, which is illinoishistory.gov.